Today's video we'll be looking at a major storm system that is starting to take shape across the portion of the country, and it will continue to develop. And we are also looking at a slew of threats, including severe weather and possibly a snowstorm across mainly the northeast, but also extending a little bit down into the Ohio River Valley. We do see up to a foot of snow, even more than that possibly, especially across the northeast. There is a significant severe weather threat for the southeast, mainly tomorrow night. There will be tornadoes out this, as well as mainly damaging winds. We'll go a little more into that in today's forecast. It would be very appreciated if you do get this covered out there, and then if you don't forget and enjoy our forecast today, please go ahead and consider liking this forecast. And I'm simply crunched in time right now, and I didn't really put up the same list for today's video. We do see there's an enhanced risk across portions of southern Georgia and the Florida Panhandle. We'll go a little bit into all the risks as well. Slight risk includes portions of southeast Alabama, northern Florida, much of Georgia, and also portions of the Carolinas, including large risk for those areas, as well as a little bit in southeast Mississippi, southeast Louisiana, and into North Carolina as well a bit. What's driving the risks? One of them is the tornado risk, which is also accounting for the enhanced risk. You do see by that 10%, including the southeast corner of Alabama, southwest Georgia, and portions of central Florida. We have a 5% risk surrounding that. Across portions of Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and as well as southeast Alabama, and a 2% tornado risk around all that as well. You can see right here by the dark green 2% once again. We also have a damaging wind-driven threat. It's basically main severe threat regardless of where you are in severe weather areas. So we do have a 30% risk for damaging winds across the red shade area, including southern Georgia and northern Florida. We do have a 15% risk across portions of southeast Alabama, much of Georgia, northern Florida, and also in the Carolinas. And the 5% risk in those surrounding areas as well. The hail risk is pretty minimal and is limited to areas near the Gulf Coast. As you can see that 5% risk there, and is only expected as the severe that begins, and then is likely not something that too much to worry about, at least. As we head further into the timing, now we do have a day 3 slight risk across portions of Florida, eastern Georgia, and the eastern Carolinas, and possibly in the southeast Virginia as well. So it basically is the cold front moving through. So that's how we see the dependency of the severe threat. So it's basically what it depends on, and then marginless for those surrounding areas. It'll be looking at the models here. We do see some instability beginning to come in around Friday afternoon. And then heading into the evening, we do have a ton of bulks here, so there won't be too much in the way of limited instability. Although there is kind of not as much of it as one would expect for an enhanced risk, even though it is March. We do still have a ton of bullshit with this, and again, I just said this, so yeah, there's gonna be plenty of support with this. So yeah, that's definitely a good reason to say there's an enhanced risk. The instability will go to other areas of the southeast, such as the Carolinas, southern Georgia, Alabama. Yeah, so beyond Florida, there could be a little bit going to southeast Louisiana and some of the areas with a severe weather threat. Well, of course, it's more limited there compared to areas to the east. So yeah, we'll look into that as well. So yeah, let's head into the other setup ingredients, see how much of that's available. Cause I'm sure there's plenty. On the other model, we for the most part, bulk shares in abundant amounts, so it wouldn't be hard at all to get any severe weather, and it wouldn't be hard to get some pretty decent storms firing up with this, even some tornadoes touching down possibly. With the whole thing that's going on. We do have some instability at least, although there could be a little more for a more widespread, noticeable severe weather threat. But considering the later more nocturnal timing of the severe threat, it's kind of all over the place here, and not many people will be awake to hear all of this going on. So if you have your safety plan and can get warnings on your phone, you really should be encouraged to do that. Because again, these storms for the most part, for many areas really, won't be arriving until later in the overnight hours. But it could be beginning as early as the late afternoon and into the evening for the severe threat. Of course, it will be all hazards once again. So it will initially be including large hail, but it will be mostly just limited to a few isolated tornadoes here and there, and more or less damaging wind gusts with this. But again, all this bulk shear is definitely going to make the conditions for severe weather really favorable, and so we did see that. So we do see that enhanced risk across points in Florida and Georgia. So yeah, let's go into the dew point maps, as well as looking a little further back into the supercell close 70s and the dew points for Florida. But let's see how far north it is rich Gulf moisture in. So yeah, areas that do expect severe weather, we'll see those 60s dew points. 70s will more or less be limited to Florida and all that. So, yeah, so if you're seeing severe weather in the southeast, over the next day, you will be probably seeing, a ton of moisture coming in as well, and that isn't all at all surprising because that's what we typically need for most severe weather events as well. We're just pointing out there to see how much moisture to be exact is coming in, where that would go. So again, areas as far north as maybe even Delaware and southeastern Virginia will probably see dew points going into the 60s and also ending up on the warm sector of the storm. But even the warm side of the storm could reach pretty far up the east coast. But yeah, again, the severe that we're seeing dew points more or less in the 50s, 60s, or prior years where we're limited to seeing severe weather. But yeah, it's a decent severe weather day regardless of watching for storms and all that. So yeah, we're gonna look at the supercell composite map a little bit too. So of course, most activity won't begin until later at night, but of course, that doesn't really indicate the overall severe weather threat. Even though it's mostly just for supercell activity in general. Again, for the initial favoring of the severe weather to being mostly subcell mode for that beginning of the threat, and of course with most severe weather episodes, eventually comes more into a squall line. But we'll also look at the radar to see how all that comes out. We do see those values reaching into as moderate values, so that's fairly typical for severe weather like this. But although there usually be using a little more than that on enhanced and higher risk especially. But again, this is the factor of when we can see and where and what we could see with all the storms as well. But of course, there's more to come. But this is technically the final update on the storm. Maybe it's just severe weather aspect because it's basically moving out after Saturday, so there's not much to say after that. Um, so again, well, let's look at the radar and also get into a little bit more into the wind speed. There's a narrow band of snow at this point from Texas Panhandle across Oklahoma, some Missouri, Illinois, and into northern portions of Indiana, Ohio. And then we see this whole activity beginning to unfold across southeast and some areas of the south on the colder side of some could even get snow. Um, so areas even such as northern Texas, northern Louisiana, as well as portions of Mississippi, Alabama, possibly the northwest Georgia as well, but especially the northern portions of these states could get some snow out of this. And of course, there could be a little mix in between the rain and snow, but it will be advancing eastward along with the cold front, and the low will be lifting northeastward. But the whole thing around the bomb cyclone certainly suggests it could be happening. And it's definitely looking like it's not out of the question. But again, we have the squall line that's going across the southeast late into the night. And of course, there could be subsolid first. It's not really a very favorable model to look at storms, but just kind of a hint at what we could be seeing in terms of the storm mode and all that. So of course, widespread areas of this mid-south. I mean, I'm not really saying like, the deep south. I'm saying like more like the upper south, but also a little bit into Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, as I just said. Could also get some wintry precip, including accumulating snowfall. But of course, many areas in the mid-Atlantic, Northeast regions could all be getting snow out of this. But areas along the East Coast are likely limited to rain. But even after the storm, there could be a little bit remaining light snow for many areas of the East Coast, even down to Mid-Atlantic coast, really. And the whole thing just kind of moves off in a way. Um, but before the weekend's over, so Sunday, the whole thing's kind of off in a way. Narrows for the snowfall. This UK model is really light, of course, but just a few inches, maybe several inches, possibly 6+ inches for mainly New England. The Canadian branch of the model seems to kind of have it amped up a little, of course, like all the other models really. So UK and perhaps the Euro, especially over here, are more or less on the lighter end of the spectrum, while the other models are kind of bringing some of the heavy snow down here as well in the Mid-Atlantic. But of course, the heaviest snow will probably fall across the Northeast. Really, we do see potentially a foot of snow, maybe even higher than that. So the Canadian branch of the model suggests several inches across a good portion of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. So the GFS model is also kind of saying the same thing, but there is a little differences between the exact tracks of the storm. But we're seeing a good point that many areas of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast are all getting some snow with this. And some of it could be heavy, especially over here. We're seeing purples, possibly some darker reddish purples in some regions, especially up here in the Northeast. So again, the GFS also kind of weighing in with the other models, aside from the lighter end of the spectrum, which is the UK and Europe once again. So yeah, GFS, we're expecting several inches, for some of the areas in the Atlantic, but also, Northeast, where all areas agree this is the hardest hit area that we're likely gonna get for this. We're seeing possible smears of a foot plus snow. The NAM model is also kind of bringing heavier snow. It also brings the possibility of at least 6+ inches as far south as northern Mississippi. But I'm not too confident on those areas getting all that snow, but I feel like a few inches could be a decent bet. For the other Canadian branch model, it brings some of the heavier snow quite downhill, with some areas of possibly northern Mississippi and Atlanta getting a few inches of snow at least. That's just according to this model, and we do see a stripe of several inches down the line here in the Mid-Atlantic Northeast. So yeah, so there's pockets of a foot in the Northeast as well, as you were saying with most of the other models, basically. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, please do consider liking and possibly subscribing if you enjoy our forecast today and want to see more of our content. Again, oh yeah, so get this out there to others so that they know, because we could be streaming depending on whether or not we're busy. But again, I think, considering the late timing, I think I'll be able to do it. It is whether or not I'll be able to do it overnight. But anyways, have a good